first book. What's up, it's Nat in another nerdy bookish video, and for today's video I'm going to be doing the Jan-uary book tag. Alright, so before you get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is a book that you are highly anticipating for 2025. So I know my intro was not my usual, but seeing as how I'm doing the Jan-uary book tag for Jan Agaton, it felt appropriate to utilize her intro. This is an annual tag. I do it every year because not only do I love Jan, but it's also a great way to kick the year off, talk about your books that, like ended 2024 with and what you're starting 2025 with, and goals, all that kind of stuff. So diving right into the questions. First up, what was the last and first, if you remember, book you read last year? My last book of 2024 was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It took me a hot minute to finish because it's on the chunkier side, and I did my best to only read this physically, but I had a really great time returning to this world. It's so atmospheric, it's so cozy. Morgenstern's writing works so well for me, and upon reread of this one, I do feel like I could appreciate how she laid things out in the plot a lot more, especially seeing as how I was annotating this. I also appreciated the transformation of some of the characters from how this book starts with them to how they end. Really enjoyed this, and now I honestly want to reread Starless Sea by this author. My first book of the year though was System Collapse by Martha Wells. That was the most recent book in the Murderbot Diaries, and I did very much enjoy it. I believe I started the year with that one because it was obviously the last book in the series. I'd received my hold for the audiobook in like November of 2023, but I didn't get to it. And then, December is my reread month. So I returned it, I got myself back on that hold list, and as soon as it came in January, I had to go and blast through it because I just adore Murderbot. Now I've been forcing that love onto Josh, and thankfully he seems to be enjoying them as well. Next question. What is your first read this year? I started the year out with A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske, and I very much enjoyed it. So this is an Edwardian fantasy story in which we're following Robin, who has just recently gotten a job in government, not realizing that it is apparently a liaison to the magical government, which he didn't know existed. Unfortunately for him, his predecessor has actually recently disappeared. And when a man that worked with his predecessor, Edwin, comes in, the two of them end up working together to try and figure out what's going on. And as they get to know more about each other, sparks start to fly. I really like this one. It was super cute, and I definitely am going to be continuing it. I would love to say here soon. Reality is telling me no, Nat, that will not be happening, but we'll see. Next question. Share 3 of your reading goals for this year. This is nice and easy. Starting at the top, I've literally mentioned it, and I feel like every single video I've posted as of late, I'm gonna read my own TBR. That is the biggest thing I'm working on this year, is getting that number down. I think currently I'm at like 102. Actually, it might be like 112. No, it's definitely more than that. I don't know. My physical TBR video just recently came out, so I'll put a link to that in the cards and you can get an actual number there. I don't remember off the top of my head now. Apart from that one though, another goal that I am really hopeful to work on is returning to 1 nonfiction book a month, totaling out to 12 at the end of the year. I used to be really good about this one, and even when I would start to slack, at the very least, Nonfiction November would make up for it, and I would still hit 12 nonfiction books at the end of the year until 2024, when I think I read like 2. I can't believe that. It's ridiculous. So that's another one that I'm really determined to have happen this year. Finally is finish out 6 series. I did really great at cutting my series down in 2023. I did stay on top of them for the most part last year, but I have also started a lot. So yeah, that's a goal that I'm really hoping will actually happen. Next question. Share 3 of your most anticipated titles. Starting at the top, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. This is going to be her next release after The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, in a very similar vein. I can't wait. I read that in October for my Witches Romance 5x5, and I loved it. It was so good. I was annoyed at myself for taking so long to get to that book. So I'm not gonna let that happen again. I'm going to pick up this next book as soon as I can. It is going to be another heartwarming novel in which it looks like a witch has a second chance to get her magical powers back. After that is Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reed, and I'll tell you why. Not just because Ava Reed wrote it, and I will literally try anything they come out with. Lady Macbeth, I'm gonna say try rather than read. I still have faith in them. And the comp titles for this one is The Last of Us meets Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that has me so intrigued. Plus it has a sapphic romance going on in it, so I can't wait to see how they write that. You'll know dystopians don't work super great for me, but that's like maybe kind of been changing a little bit. Finally is Bat Eater and Other Names for Corzing by Kylie Lee Baker. I gotta say, I've heard so many positive early reviews on this one. Absolutely, I'm very excited for it, especially seeing as how it sounds sort of in vein to one of my best books of 2024, The Eyes Are the Best Part. It's following a woman who cleans up crime scenes for a living, but ends up, I think, starting to investigate into some of these crimes when she notices a pattern that a lot of recent victims are Asian women. Again, I've heard so many positive things. I'm really excited to get around to it. Apart from that, I mean, Emily Henry has a new book coming out. Of course I'm going to read it. B.E. Schwab has a new book that's gonna be coming out here soon that, oh my gosh, after Y'all Fest, they really hyped me up for it, so I'm absolutely going to be reading it as well. And I'm gonna stop there because otherwise I'll just keep going. What goals did you reach / not reach last year? From what I can remember, my major goals was like starting my Star Wars canon project. Obviously, I did that. I'll put a link to the playlist over there. Like I said, I did for the most part stay on top of my series. I didn't really mood read much though. That's one that I am trying to work on a little bit more this year, especially with a video project series that I'm gonna be doing. We'll see how that goes. Are there new releases you've heard of that you have no desire to read? I do feel bad about these, but there are some books that like, there's a bunch of hype and it has not infected me. Namely, Wet or Deepened. I think the official title of it is now Deepened by Ali Hazelwood. This author's stuff just like does not interest me. I read The Love Hypothesis and it was fine, but none of her other stuff has ever really interested me. One that I'm a little bummed about is Immortal by Sue Lynn Tan, and that's because I really wanted to like this author's prior work. Unfortunately, Daughter of the Moon Goddess was a bit of a letdown. Aspects of it should have worked really well for me, but overall it just wasn't my taste. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna try out this new book from her, even though it's another stunning cover. Next question. What are some reading habits you want to change this year, if any? So into last year, I did sort of start working on cutting down my doom scrolling and instead utilizing that time to read, which I was doing okay with, and I am kind of continuing that trend now. Apart from that though, I do also want to try reading more with my eyeballs. I did a whole video about that in December, making reading a habit again, so I'll put a link to that in the cards. Thankfully, that's been sticking pretty true for right now. I am still starting the day by reading an ebook on my phone, and I have been ending the day by reading a book physically, so yay, let's stay on top of that. Next question. Are there any adaptations you're excited about? I honestly didn't have any, but when I looked up adaptations that are coming out, I will say there's one for Frankenstein that I am really intrigued about now. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it's got Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, I'm having a really hard time pronouncing these L's, and also Mia Goth. Sign me up. I'm so intrigued. I'm really hopeful that this goes well. Next question. Favorite bookish memory of last year? I'm trying to make it an effort to go to more author signings. I went to my first Buns N' Roses romance tea, and that was so much fun. Introduced me to a lot of new romance authors I'm excited to read more from. I also went to my first book festival, I guess you would say, Y'all Fest in November, and I had so much fun there. So that's something I'm really gonna try and do also this year, is just continuing to try and go to events like that and meet other bookish people, talk about these books that I love, and also get to meet some of these really cool authors. I already have one planned later this month, and I am so excited. Final question. Carryovers from last year that you still plan on finishing. When I first wrote up my answers for the tag, I still had not yet finished Bunny by Mona Awad. Thankfully, by this point, I have. Very much enjoyed this, if you couldn't tell from these 20 million tabs. Apart from that one though, I am also planning to finish out The Geek Feminist Revolution by Cameron Hurley. This is one of those books that I started for Nonfiction November and unfortunately did not finish. It is a collection of essays, so it kind of was very easily put down, but I can also pick it up at any point and just work on another chapter or two, which I have been doing lately. So I am already further than I was at the end of the year last year. Here's hoping I will actually finish this in January, and I'll start the year off strong when it comes to nonfiction books. All right, and on that note, that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a camel emoji in the comments. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me, including a Patreon linked in the description if you're interested. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!